Here I'm going to show you how to solve problems using the Pythagorean theorem, and this formula is on your formula sheet, so you don't need to memorize it, you just need to be able to use it to solve problems. The Pythagorean theorem is a squared plus b squared equals c squared, and this is only applicable to problems involving right triangles. So if you don't know what a right triangle is, you need to watch the Triangles Part 1 video. So right triangles are those that have a 90-degree angle. It's usually designated by a little box thing. So that's a 90-degree angle. When you have a right triangle, you have two sides that are adjacent to this right angle. These are called the legs. These we're going to call A and B. It doesn't matter which one you call A, which one you call B. It doesn't matter at all. The important part is that essentially the slanty leg, which is called the hypotenuse, is labeled C. So for the legs that are adjacent to this right angle, A and B, doesn't matter. But this part, the part that's not part of that right angle, is called the hypotenuse, and you need to label that as C. And what these represent, so this is this leg, this is this leg, this is the hypotenuse. And so the way that we're going to solve problems is, for example, let's say they give you a right triangle, and they say this is 30 inches, this is 40 inches. What is that, the length of that side? And so all you're going to do is you see, oh, I see a right triangle, so you should go to your formula sheet, look up the Pythagorean theorem, and you're just going to plug this in. So we're going to call this A and this B. This hypotenuse is called C. And then we're just going to plug the numbers in and solve an algebra problem. So we'll come over here. So A is 30. So we have 30 squared, because we're just plugging 30 in for A. B is 40, so we're just going to plug 40 in for B. So plus 40 squared equals C squared. We're trying to find out what C is. So 30 squared. So remember how to do a square. There's also a video on exponents and roots. 30 squared is 30 times 30. You can plug that into your calculator. You get 900 plus 40 squared means 40 times 40, 1600 equals C squared. 900 plus 1600 is 2500 equals C squared. Here we have, it's essentially an algebra problem. How are we going to get C by itself? Because we don't want C squared, we want C. So to get rid of the square, you can watch the algebra video. The way we do this is just take the square root of each side. So the square root of 2500, which you can plug in your calculator, is 50. Square root of C squared is C. So C equals 50. So the length of this side is 50. So the important thing is make sure you know how to manipulate the calculator that they're going to give you for the test. There's a video on my Facebook page about that. You're going to just plug the numbers in, and then you have an algebra problem. When you get down to the C squared or any sort of squared thing, you take the square root to get C. We'll do another example. Let's say you have a triangle, and they may give this to you in words, like you have a ladder leaning against a wall. The ladder is 13 feet. The height from the bottom to the top of the ladder is 5 feet. What's the distance along the bottom? So you're trying to figure out what this is. So remember, you need to set the problem up correctly. So this is a right angle. So we're going to call this A and this B. Remember that these have to be labeled A and B the two legs adjacent to the right angle. This is C. So here we have C. We're trying to solve for B. So again, we have an algebra problem. We're just going to plug the numbers in. So again, this is the same formula. A is 5, so we have 5 squared plus, we don't know what B is, B squared equals C squared. C is 13. So we have 5 squared plus B squared equals 13 squared. 5 squared is 5 times 5, 25. Plus B squared equals 13 squared is 169. 13 times 13. Now again, we have an algebra problem. So if you don't know how to solve this, you need to watch the algebra video on the Facebook page. You want to get B by itself. So in order to do that, we're going to subtract 25. If we subtract 25 from one side, we have to subtract 25 from the other side. 25 minus 25 is 0. So we have B squared equals 169 minus 25 is 144. But we don't want B squared, we want B. So how do we get B there? Remember, if there's a squared, you take the square root of each side. Because you take the square root on one side, you have to take the square root on the other side. Square root of B squared is B. Square root of 144, plug that in your calculator, is 12. So the length of this side is 12 feet. So a key to this problem is when you see a right triangle, you should automatically think about the Pythagorean Theorem. It's on your formula sheet. This is it, and you're just going to label each side of the triangle appropriately and plug the numbers in and then solve the problem.